भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादं सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपीकांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति स्वरूप दामोदर समेति नामिने। नमः सद्भक्तमनाय मणिपुर उद्भावय च प्रभुपादलसद्वाणी प्रचार निरताय ते। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात देश तारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नष्ट प्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्व पाप प्रणाशनं प्रणाम दुःख शमनं नमामि श्री हरि परम। जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। So in this connection, the great King Sagara's son and grandson, the sons, like 64,000 sons, were born by Kapila Munis when they offended, thinking that Kapila Muni is the cause of the stealing their horse. So when one of his son, named Asam Jasa, in his previous life, he was a great mystic yogi. Because he could not achieve the goal in one form of life, he was awarded another family, another royal family in the next life. Yoga nashtaha parantapa. This नेहाभि क्रमना स्वस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पम अप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महत्वम भयात्. Even a little endeavor one has performed in the path of bhakti are all preserved. And that protects a person from the greatest danger of repeated birth, death, old age and diseases. That is the greatest danger in the cosmic world. What is the greatest problem? What is the greatest danger? Need to be solved is not understood by ordinary people. Only a perfect mystic yogi, jnani, or yogi, meditator, they can purify their existence. By the gradual purification of their existence, they can elevate themselves to the platform of devotional service and try to work for Krishna, work for Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when somebody tries to work for Supreme Personality of Godhead, gradually he do not develop taste in material sense enjoyment. कामिनीर काम नहे तब धाम ताहार मालिक केवल जादव. This philosophy is not well established in ordinary people. Unless one works for Krishna, cannot bring himself into this philosophy. That this women and wealth are belonging to Krishna and is meant for Krishna's enjoyment, not my enjoyment. Being a sub-servant of Lord, my duty is to engage all of my wealth and all of the children, women who are in connection with me, be engaged in the service of the Lord. Then only he will be able to understand the purpose of human form of life, and he will understand following after women and wealth is the cause of suffering, the root cause of all suffering. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukha dasanu darshanam. The byproduct of association or sense enjoyment with women and wealth is that janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Repeated birth, repeated death, old age and diseases. That is the byproduct. Then the sufferings from the heat, cold, etc. Adi bhautika, adhyatmika, adi daivika. From the living entities, other living entities, insects, envious neighbor, they causes so much of the trouble to you. That is called adi bhautika. And adi adhyatmika, this mind which is not controlled, brings lots of pain due to incessant desire. So these are actually the biggest problem. A wise person should not run after small or petty problems which are not cultivating the real solution. The real problem is that we have to suffer again and again. So one should work toward that. So any attempt one is putting towards this to stop the repeated cycle of birth and death is the actual knower of his ultimate good. So, asamanjasa was very much aware of that. So he played a trick that in this life, let me not be so much involved in this family life. Let me not be affectionate child of all the family. So what he was doing, that he was traveling in the nearby boys and throwing them into the mid of Saraju river. So by that the complaints came to his father, Maharaja Sagara. So he became very disturbed because of this kind of behavior. So with the chastisement of Sagara, ultimately the purpose of Asamjasa fulfilled, that he was exiled to forest. And as he was exiled, then he exhibited his mystic power and revived all the boys to whom he was thrown to the river Saraju. Now then when Sagara saw that all those boys have come back to life, he was very astonished and could recognize the great mystic power of his son Asamjasa, and lamented the absence of his son. This way, Asamjasa is relieved from the attachment of family life. This is so important that one may take any means to get out of this affection. Asamjasa was awarded with this remembrance of his previous life. So he was preserved with what he practiced, not only that, was preserved but remembered. In ordinary course, whatever actions we do that contribute toward consciousness, and when we change body after body, this consciousness is inbuilt, but however, we are being forgotten about the gross activities we did in the past. Mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. This has been facilitated by Supreme Personality of Godhead, that what need to be remembered and what not to be remembered in order to exhibit a life after life, the journey. It is also essential that we have to forget our previous activities. If we cannot forget and lament on the past, then we cannot perform any activity in the present. So this is also a great benediction by Lord, that we are able to forget. Soon after one gives up the body, he also forgets the activities that performed by that body. In the next body, he only remember the fresh activities he do. That also not all. Like how much things you remember from your past. That is like only those which are having something highly attentive or something extraordinary, something very surprising. So that creates a neural network which is like surprising, which is like either greatly painful or greatly pleasurable, and very much surprising to the person. Actually create a neural network stored in permanent memory, can be revived for a longer duration. But these are the hardware and storages. You do not go to Mana Buddhi Ahankara as instance of storages. Instances are stored as the signal processing through neural network. But the behavior which is deriving from the instances. What is instances and what is behavior derived from instances is that instances are course of action. Suppose in machine learning, we give a learning to the machine to learn by the events. So events are the instances. What is the outcome learned is the like behavior learned from it. How it is behaving, what it was behaving is understood by what is being performed, by analyzing what is being performed. So in our present life, what we do that contribute to our guna or nature. By that our sattva, raja and tama, these three modes of mental nature will be aggravated. If we exhibit devotional service, go to temples, serve Supreme Personality of Godhead, do Hari Kirtana, or attend Bhagavat class, or give Bhagavat class, or listen to the Bhagavat class, by that we contribute to our behavior. Our behavior become more sublime and understand that we are servant of Krishna. So our knowledge about Krishna, our exchange of activities with Krishna is added towards the behavior, means toward the guna. In actually there are three modes of mental nature, sattva, raja and tama. They translate the activities and reverse process happens. What is the reverse process? Under the influence of three modes of material nature, one particular person desires certain things based on the place, based on his working senses, adhishtanam, tatha karta, karanamsa, vividasya, pruthak chesta. With the facility of his working senses, the suitable place, and his various endeavor. These are the three causes which are manifested by the three modes of material nature, made him to think or desire certain things. As per the arrangement of the Supreme will of Supreme Personality of Godhead by laws of natural nature, he was supposed to do certain thing. Prakriti kriya manani gunai karma sarvasa. Because of the false identification that he is the doer and enjoyer, he takes the behavior from these activities. Even though Prakriti is doing everything, but he is influenced by the Prakriti. He is supposed to not to be influenced by the Prakriti, however he is now influenced by the Prakriti. Sometimes Sattva, sometimes Rajas, sometimes Tama. Sometimes mix. But at a particular point of time, among these three, one of the guna becomes prominent or win over other two. Sattva, Raja, Tamasya Abhibhaya. Raja, Tamasya Abhibhaya, Satyam Bhavati Bharata. Tama, Raja, Sattva, Chaiva, Raja, Sattva, Tama, Chaiva. So there is a regular fighting happens based on place, based on the desire of the person, based on his enabled working senses and his endeavor. So these things fueling the person to fight with this metal nature and subdue it by one of the Prakriti, whether it is Sattva or Raja and Tama, he acts. So one is that Prakriti force him to act, and by his activity, thinking himself is the doer, he again gain a behavior which remains as false ego. Mana, buddhi, ahankara. These three things remains in subtle sense, subtle body, and contribute to his contaminated consciousness. With this contaminated consciousness, when he goes life after life, this remain in his behavior and he act accordingly. He cannot act something differently. Because of our continuous engagement in the ordinary sense activities following after women and wealth, we are so habituated that even after getting a new birth, we are again habituated to the same thing. And also, the environment is so, so positive, or you can say, so fertile to germinate the seeds of sinful karma, that again we are pulled to these abominable activities. However, when we control this by the surrenderness to Supreme Personality of Godhead, this contaminated consciousness gets purified. The process of purification of contaminated consciousness to the Swarupa is the real transcendence. Otherwise, the human being is wasting their time of no merit. So here, Ichha Dvesha Samuthena Dvanda Mohena Bharata Sarva Bhutani Samayam Sargijanti Parantapa. In this material world, influenced by these modes of metal nature, one person is struggling with the sense enjoyment, unable to know Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he needs to submit to Supreme Personality of Godhead to get rescued or to purify his existence, his consciousness, being freed from the material or contaminated consciousness or false ego, can remember that he is the part and parcel of Krishna. Jivera Swarupa hai Krishnara Nityadas. Krishnara Tatastha Sakti Veda Veda Prakash. So, being the part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead, his only duty is to please Krishna. So that if there is only duty to please Krishna, then all that obstruct to execute that primary duty should be avoided by any means. Asamanjasya took a hard mean, somehow that all people will not like him so that he can go easily. But it's not necessary. Similarly, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami took a hard mean to bribe the jailers by utilizing their reserved wealth to rescue themselves from these clutches of Maya. Jai Jana Bhaja Krishna Sebada Chatur, they are Vigyan Jana, those who are trying to, who are worshipping Supreme Personality of Godhead. The real knowledge is coming from Krishna, and Krishna gives all the all the possibility that he can be freed from these clutches. And one has to take every effort to free from the clutches of the Maya. But the reverse happened that when we do the preaching to the persons, he takes every excuses not to come to Krishna consciousness. He can never come. One has to take a exactly opposite mean to come and become seriousness in cultivating Krishna consciousness. However, he can convince family, parents, etc., and engage him in the service of the Lord is the best. But sometimes he cannot be merciless to the people. Just like here, Asamanjasa was not merciless to these boys. He was merciful. Again, he brought all them into life. So if somebody is married and try to mercilessly leave the wife and children, it's not good. Vaishnava has to keep daya in him. He should do some necessary arrangements, but not like Dronacharya, who was so attached to the son Aswattama that he himself wanted to give all the pleasure to his son. Rather, the objective is that we cannot guarantee our life wealth to be permanent. We can only depend on the mercy of the Lord. So the prayer should be that let Supreme Personality of Godhead bestow His mercy upon these poor wife, children, and etc., these family members. So the sincere prayer by the devotee for the well-being of the dependents were taken care by the Lord. The dependency, even if the dependency of the person himself is not on his wealth or possessions or his fixed deposits or savings, the dependency of him is not on his fixed deposit and etc., but the mercy of the Lord. Even though one does not have some funds to remain when he retires, that he will have to undergo lots of problems because of lack of money and etc. Because in this yuga, without money, you cannot do anything, you cannot get any honey. So this austere life is challenging. So sometimes after coming to this life of brahmacharya, vanaprastha, sannyasa, which is very austere, a person might think that some money should be there. But that is not fully dependency on Lord. This life is to undergo certain trouble. Our life will never be finished with this kind of austerity which will be avoided by laws of nature. But Lord is there to protect us. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivi prakriti asita. We might be undergone some test, but all tests are mercy only are imposed by Lord Himself. Nothing to be worried. Fully dependent on the mercy of the Lord is utmost required for swift progress in Krishna consciousness life. Otherwise, one will not attain the objective for which he has left home. So not only for him he is dependent on Lord, but also for his dependence, also he is depending upon Lord. Because Krishna has a promise that Devarsi Pitru Deva Rishi Pitrunam Runam Evacha. All these three kind of runa which is on us will be taken care by Lord when we submit ourselves to Lord. Because now that I am not depending on my own effort and nothing becomes to me, all are becoming to Lord. My effort itself is becoming to Lord. Because of Atma Nivedana, I have given Sadanga Saranagati. All six kind of surrenders has been given to Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna not only takes our services but also our responsibilities. Like all the runas, whatever we are supposed to do, everything is taken care by Krishna himself, and it is guaranteed. He can liberate our 21 Purvajas, forefathers, not only from father's side but also from mother's side. So that level of Rina Purti can be done by Supreme Personality of Godhead, fulfillment of all of our liabilities. So nothing to be worried, and if one again commits such mistakes like Drona, that I will be taking care of my family. So, always worried after accumulating savings, fixed deposits. We don't know what will happen to that fixed deposit. So, it's not that one will not do fixed deposits. One can do as basis of karma, depending upon Supreme Personality of Godhead. One might try that all of his karma be surrendered to Lord. Let that fixed deposit be surrendered to Lord. And let Lord knows how that fixed deposit can help his family and the service of the Lord. Then he must know that the family member must be thoroughly trained to become a devotee of Krishna. If still he is unable to do, that is fine. He has attempted to the best of his ability to make the family members to be a devotee of Lord. But what is the result or the outcome is not at his hand. He had only the choice of prayers to the Supreme Personality of God. Bhakti can generate bhakti. Krishna can make Krishna to be known. Unless one is not attracting the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with humble submission and sublime attitude, one cannot know Krishna. Any kind of arrogance cannot approach Krishna. So these people who were tried to be preached by devotees because of their ignorance, because of their sinful life. Sinful life is not understood to be hindrance unless he has a hard heart. Heart become hard by offenses toward Vaishnavas, toward good people, Akradh, to enviousness toward Krishna, that make the heart very hard. All the offenses are very difficult to overcome, can be only overcome to whom it is offended. So that is the only problem, that few people cannot come to Krishna consciousness even after prolonged preaching. So we need not to be worried for their, fate, but we can make a sincere prayer and give the right directions toward them, whether they accept or not. Outcome is not our worry, but what we supposed to do should be our worry. Bhaktya mam abhijanati javan jasasmi tattata. Bhakti can only generate bhakti. So another devotee, through his sublime devotion, can help us invoke devotion in ourselves. So we must respect the people, all those people who are bearing bhakti, because they are the great treasure of bhakti who can give us bhakti. Bhakti cannot be, otherwise being available. Just like a rich person is followed by so many followers, so that those followers can get some money from that rich person. Similarly, with that same set of rules, a person who is endowed with first class devotion should be followed by the people to get some devotion from him. However, when rich persons give some dana or dhana to others, his richness is not reduced. Danam daridrata nasanam. When somebody gives dana, he gets more wealth. Similarly, even in bhakti factor, it is more integrated. Just like by giving bhakti to others, one is getting additional benedictions from Krishna. His bhakti is powered by much more time than he gives to others. So more you give, more you get. So there is no loss of giving bhakti to others. One can give his entire life in spreading Krishna consciousness, because that is the most dear activities of Krishna. That is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter. we read Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, sloka number 68, that those devotees who are engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by presenting his glories to the devotees, they go back to Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are dearmost devotee. Ya idam paramam guhyam madbhakte abhidati bhakti mayi param krutta mam eva yasyati asansaya. That is the easiest path that one can go back Godhead, by presenting the glories of Krishna, by bringing people to Krishna consciousness. Nacha tasman manusyasu kashin me priyakritamah bhavita nacha me tasmad anyah priyatara bhuvi. Such a servant in this world is most dear to him, to Krishna, and there will be never be anyone more dear than such a person. So Krishna explains very clearly that such a person who is engaging in distributing bhakti to others is the dearmost person, and there cannot be anyone else more dear than him. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for this class. I would like to ask our devotees to ask Prabhuji if they have any questions. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्णा।
प्रभु, जैसे भगवत गीता का बहुत सारा कमेंट्रीज है और भी, तो अगर कोई व्यक्ति जो है भगवत गीता का दूसरा कमेंट्री पढ़ के उसके अंदर किसी तरह से मतलब उसका क्या रिजल्ट होगा, मतलब अगर दूसरा कमेंट्री पढ़ता है इतने सारे, तो उससे कहीं ना कहीं कुछ तो लाभ होगा कि कुछ, मतलब व्हाट इज द फाइनली इस पे थोड़ा सा अगर
दूसरा कमेंट्री पढ़ना है। देखिए, आपका व्हाट इज योर इंटरनल नेचर कैन नॉट बी चेंज्ड सो इजीली, बट इफ यू आर getting affected by some poison, there will be some reaction. If you are immune to poison, then poison cannot affect you. So advanced devotees will not be affected when they are arguing with this kind of person, Mayavadis, etc. However, neophytes can be affected by this kind of interactions. One is like sarpa uchishta jathapayam. Even if the milk is touched by the tongue of snake becomes poison, similarly the nectar and Krishna Katha, if touched by these Mayavadis, so that becomes like poison. Everybody cannot become like sun. Sun takes water from everywhere, from the most filthy places and from the most clean places also. Most advanced devotees are like that. They take good thing from every places, every sources. But neophyte cannot be. So one should avoid the non-devotees, Mayavadis, pretenders. So it is better that he takes up the learning from Parampara system and be safe under the protections of Guru and Krishna. So he should be limit himself to Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru and Parampara system, so that he do not disturb at least at neophyte stage. Okay, Prabhuji?
यस प्रभु। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु। देते हैं क्लास को।
नीलांबर महाराज कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं? महाराज धन्यवाद, प्रणाम।
प्रणाम प्रभु जी, बहुत अच्छा से व्याख्या किए। तो ये जो हमारा असमंजस को उनका पिताजी सगर महाराज ने वनवास भेज दिए, तो मतलब अयोग्य बने। तो उन्होंने फिर बाद में आकर के ये उनको उनका माध्यम से अश्वमेध यज्ञ करवाए अयोग्य संतान के से। इसको केंद्र करके आप कुछ बोलिए। इसको बाप छोड़ा एक समय असंतुष्ट हुए, इतना पवित्र राजा सूर्यवंश के राजा।
उनका तो असमंजस का तो वही इच्छा था कि इनको ज्यादा फैमिली से अफेक्शन ना मिले, ताकि वो बन आ सके। इट वाज प्लान बाय हिमसेल्फ, वो बंधन से मुक्त होना था, तो वो तरीका वही अपनाए थे। तो इसलिए उसने वन जाकर तपस्या किए और आध्यात्मिक अन्वेषण में ज्यादा समय दिए, और फिर जब अपना रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी समझ लिए तो आके उसे अश्वमेध यज्ञ भी करवाए। तो इसीलिए उनका पिताजी को भी दुख हुआ कि उनकी पुत्र को पहचान नहीं सके, तो जो बहुत एडवांस थे। तो ऐसा ही होता है, कभी कभी हमें अपने आध्यात्मिक अवस्था को स्थिर रखने के लिए समाज की ये जो व्यवस्था है उससे दूर रहना पड़ता है। जब तक हम परफेक्ट नहीं हो जाते हैं, तो एक ही कारण रहता है, एक्चुअली शास्त्र एक ही कारण बताते हैं कि आप क्यों घर में बंधे पड़ेंगे, घर में या संसार में रहेंगे, धाम में क्यों ना रहेंगे। एक ही कारण हो सकता है, आप धाम में इसलिए नहीं रहते हैं क्योंकि आप प्रचार कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि आप जब प्रचार कर रहे हैं आपके साथ कृष्ण रहते हैं। भगवान कृष्ण योगी योग का हृदय में नहीं रहते हैं, वैकुंठ में भी रहना पसंद नहीं करते हैं, लेकिन हमेशा जहां पे कृष्ण की कथा की प्रचार होता है, जहां कृष्ण की कथा चलता है, वहीं पे वो हमेशा रहते हैं। इसलिए भक्तों को ये चाहिए कि वो प्रचार कार्य में व्यस्त रहे, कृष्ण कथा सुने, कृष्ण कथा कहे। इससे उनको हमेशा भगवत धाम की अनुभूति रहेगा, जहां हमारे गुरुदेव सहित वृंदावन, जहां जहां गुरु वाक्य की पालन करके भगवान की सेवा किया जाता है, वहां पर भगवान मौजूद। इसलिए भगवान धाम में तो रहते हैं, लेकिन धाम में रहकर भी हम भगवान को रियलाइज कर सके इसका कोई गारंटी नहीं है। लेकिन अगर हम सेवा करते हैं, प्रचार करते हैं, तो हम जहां भी जाते हैं हमारे साथ भगवान रहते हैं। तो अगर हम धाम में नहीं रहते हैं, कहीं और रहते हैं, उसका मतलब हम भगवान की सेवा के लिए बाहर गए हैं, अदरवाइज वी आर नॉट इन कृष्ण कॉन्शियसनेस। कृष्ण चैतन्य का यही विधि है कि आप अगर कहीं और रहते हैं तो प्रचार कीजिए, उसी सुविधा सुजग जो भी आपको प्राप्त है वो सब भगवान की सेवा में लगाइए। असमंजस बहुत एडवांस थे, इसलिए वो अपने जीवन की हर मौका को भगवत अन्वेषण के लिए आए थे। जब उनका कर्तव्य को समझ आया कि ये करवाने चाहिए, वो अपने कर्तव्य भी किए हैं। बाकी आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहते हैं तो करिए महाराज, प्लीज।
बहुत अच्छा है प्रभु। प्राथमिक अवस्था में विषय पूजा प्रतिष्ठा से दूर रह के एकांतिक भक्ति साधना में उन्नति करना चाहिए। तो पूर्णता अवस्था में जैसे प्रभुपाद महाराज 70 साल का वयस में करके दिखाए, और हमारा पूर्वाचार्य सर्व गोस्वामी लोग 70-80 साल में इतने पवित्र ग्रंथ हम लोग को भक्ति तत्व ग्रंथ दिए हैं, जो कि उनका रिजल्ट अभी हमारा विश्व का सब जगह में प्रभावित हो रहा है। तो इसी कारण भगवत भक्ति जो है ये मैच्योरिटी है, बॉयस मैच्योरिटी बुद्धि के ऊपर निर्भर कर रहा है। प्राथमिक अवस्था में थोड़ा बहुत हमारा अपूर्णता रहता है, तो देख करके उन्होंने वनवास घोषित करके, और पिताजी ने कभी कभी तपस्या करने को भेज देते हैं। जैसे हमारा भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर को भी भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर ने नवद्वीप भेज दिए थे, जाओ भजन करो। ठीक है ब्रो, हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण महाराज, थैंक यू वेरी मच। अभी हम कंक्लूड करते हैं प्रभु जी। We can conclude for now.
So we can conclude.
जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, गुरु महाराज श्री श्रीपाद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि।
इसलिए सकल प्रभु की जय हो। थैंक यू ऑल जी, सीनियर वैष्णव महाराज, हरे कृष्ण।